Welcome to the Lace 'em Up podcast. My name is David Hartman, aka Davidedo Designs. I'm your host, as always. Today's guest is a very dope artist. Okay, takes phenomenal pictures of their custom shoe work. She goes by the name of Cestlavic. Vicky, welcome to the podcast. Say what's up to the people.
Listen, you want custom shoes? That's gonna take some bucks. Whatever you have for the price, go ahead and raise them up. Better get your spot now for it's taken up. When it's all said and done, my guy, lace them up. Come on, lace them up.
Hey guys, thank you so much, David, for having me here.
Thank
Can't
you
wait.
for coming on. I'm excited to have you on. So we'll just kind of start from the beginning. Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, a little bit about your background.
Sure. So I'm originally from Toronto, Ontario in Canada. So I'm a Canadian girl. And I moved out here to San Francisco about 3 years ago. Yeah, it's about 3 years now. And I have a background in science. I have my bachelor's, I have my master's in materials engineering as well. So I'm a science girl, researcher turned artist. And it's only been about a year and a half at this point that I've gone totally full time to doing sneaker customizing. Sneaker customizing has always been a side hustle for me. And it wasn't until recently that I had the courage to really give it my all, give it that final shot to see what I could do with it. And here we are.
So talk a little bit about that, like getting over that hump, and what was that experience for you? Because it's a very scary thing for somebody to go into business for themselves, regardless of what the business is, especially with like this niche type of business as well. Talk a little bit about what that journey looked like for you.
Yeah, I mean, so I've been painting shoes for 9 years now. So it's been a really long time since, I've been working with the medium and, getting to know my materials and stuff like that. But never have I ever thought that this would be a viable career option because it was not a thing. You don't know a lot of people who do sneaker customizing as a job, right? So that was never something that my parents exposed me to, or even going to school, people would expose me to. I just never knew of anybody that did it. So being so like foreign to me, this is definitely a really big step. And it just got up to the point where I was looking for another biotech job in the area. So in San Francisco, lots of biotech companies. And when I was interviewing, I kept asking them, is there a creative side to the job? Because I always really liked incorporating my creative side with my technical side. And the answer was so often no. And I just got really depressed thinking about going into a job where I would be a button pusher, where I would do the same thing day in, day out. And I couldn't stand with the thought in my head that I would regret it if I didn't give it a shot. And art is also another thing that, being from an Asian background, it's not encouraged, right? It's not encouraged because that's not typically something you hear about when people talk about being successful. It's usually being a doctor, being a lawyer, being an engineer, architect, getting lots of schooling. So I finished going to schooling, getting all my certificates when I realized that doing something I love is probably more important than just making the money. So right now we're still, working really hard to make the dream also something that's sustainable, right? A job that can also keep me in my apartment, keep me well fed, right?
Yeah.
So I'm still trying to prove to my parents and also trying to prove to myself that this can definitely be a thing. I can do what I love and also make a living doing it.
Yeah. So I think that that's very important for people. A lot of times I talk with people and they're so often chasing the money or whatever this idea is of somebody else's idea of success, actually, right?
Yeah.
Instead of chasing the thing that they love and they have a passion for. So where does your love of art come from?
I just always liked making messes, doing things with my hands as a kid. I would do arts and crafts. I would do paper mache. I'd see something on TV or in stores and I'd want to make it myself. And that's where the love of customizing shoes came from, because it was like, if you could think it, you could put it on a pair of sneakers. And I would get a lot of clients asking me to do a mashup of their favorite things. And it's like, you are creating something that is so unique in the world. People are walking around in, and there's only one because you've made it by hand. So that's, really just something that I've always had. I've always loved arts. I've always loved to paint. I've always loved to do things with my hands. And this is what I love. And you're so right about, doing something you're passionate about versus just the money. And I think my approach right now is chasing what I'm truly passionate about, and the money and the opportunities kind of follow.
Yeah. Awesome. So, I guess from a business perspective or business side, what kind of business model are you following, or you're just like, I'm just trying to figure it out day by day?
I mean, those are all the secrets that I can't tell you right now.
Perfect.
No, I'm still definitely figuring it out. But being my side hustle for so many years has taught me a lot of lessons along the way. So how to price things. When I first started, my first pair of shoes that I posted on Etsy was $80. And that's including the shoes, including the artwork. And mind you, it wasn't like a pair of Air Force Ones or anything. It was just, a no-name brand shoe that I painted on. However, you learn more about demand, and you learn more about how much time it actually takes you to do those designs. So even like right now, as I'm working on a pair of shoes, it took me 4 days just to come up with the design concepts, do my research, and put a mock-up together, right? So as you're doing more of it, the experience will help you, sort of figure out how to price things, and who your target audience is also something that I've been learning a lot about lately too. So in terms of business model, I don't think I have something where I can be like, this is exactly what I'm doing, but it's really just creating new opportunities for myself, showing my work to people who might not be in the industry, but they're interested in getting to know it. So I'm working with a lot of clients that are kind of outside the realm of sneaker customizing right now.
Okay, awesome. That was enough gems. You don't have to give too much information. That works.
The secret sauce.
Yeah. So one of the questions that I'm asking that I think it's interesting to me, what everyone's like format is for designing and how they lay stuff out. So could you talk a little bit about what your process looks like for that?
Yeah, I think as an artist, sometimes I'm very much in my head. So I would say the majority of times, designs and concepts live in my head, and they kind of keep me awake at night. So I get the best ideas at about 3 a.m. in the morning when I can't sleep. But then it's translating that to, I like a mix of things. So sometimes I will sketch out ideas with pen and paper. And then other times I will do more complex designs on the computer. So I'll use Photoshop a lot to mock up my designs. It just really depends on what the theme I'm working on calls for.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, I'm lazy in that fact. Like, I don't want to be on paper anymore. I'm just doing everything in Photoshop, just because it takes so much time. And I'm just like, I can get a quicker idea what this concept is going to be if I do it in Photoshop versus me trying to do everything by hand. Because then you got to sketch the shoe out and everything else. And nah, I'll pass.
Yeah, I just enjoy like playing with pencil crayons, markers, and like sometimes it's just sitting there. It's kind of like doodling, right? Where you sit there and you're just coloring or sketching out something. It's kind of just to get the brain juices flowing so that the ideas come.
Yeah, I understand that. I do doodle, but just that sounds like too much crazy for me right now.
It's a lot.
So if someone asks you what is your style, what would you say is your style?
That's such a good question, and I get asked this a lot. And even though I think I'm still trying to find my distinct style. Something that's been constant throughout all of my sneakers and my sneaker art is that there's every part of the shoe is different. So I can't do a symmetrical design. Even if you paid me to, I probably wouldn't do it. So every side of the shoe, the back, the front, everything is always unique, and it kind of ties in the full story of the shoe. So I try to incorporate something that both keeps me excited as I'm painting, because I have to keep doing this over and over again, and just being able to tell the story that I want for that design.
Okay. Awesome.
It's more abstract, I think, than so much as to like what exact style I have as I'm painting, because it changes all the time.
Yeah. So, as an artist, what made you pick shoes as your medium? Right? Like you could have chosen canvas or wood or whatever the case may be. What made you choose
Yeah.
shoes?
When I started, there weren't a lot of artists that were painting on shoes or doing commissions on shoes, let's say. I'm pretty sure customizing started way longer than when I started, but there were the artists available were very few and far in between. So I just really fell in love with the fact that you could paint something and it was a canvas that would travel the world because they were on somebody's feet. And I would get clients at the beginning from all over the world, like just international clients from Germany, from Dubai, and I'd get these pictures, and it's just so cool. And I think with shoes, it's a way to express your individuality very well, and different people choose different shoes. They put different things on their shoes, different colors and things like that. So I definitely think it's a way of expression that really it goes across geographically and then also across time as well.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I like that perspective. I think that's always interesting because you could like there's all of these different mediums that you can put your artwork on, and then there's that whole conversation about is it art or is it copies or whatever the case may be. I don't want to get into that conversation, but I think that's always interesting to see why people decide to use shoes. Like, for me, it was just a love of shoes, and then it was like starting to try to spice them up and change them up with shoestrings, and then just continuing to grow from there. So I think it's a little different for everybody. So that's interesting.
Sure.
Let me ask you this question. It's going to be probably, it may be difficult, it may not be difficult. So if you had one person, dead or alive, that you could paint some shoes for, what shoe would you paint and what would be the design? And who's the person?
That's such a good question. Very difficult question, but right off the bat, I would say my grandparents. So three of my grandparents passed away now, but I definitely think that it would be so rad if I could paint them. It could be anything. It could be a pair of Jordans, for example, but just have like a really classic, but like young design on it that's maybe inspired by, Chinese culture or something, maybe like some silk patterns or whatever it is, but just have something that's a mix of old school and then contemporary that they would wear, because that's something that I never got the chance to do, and I think it would be so cool.
Yeah. Dope. I like it. So what would you say is your favorite shoe to paint on?
My favorite shoe to design and paint on is probably the AJ1s, but then also in the same breath, kind of probably the Air Force ones, because they're just such easy canvases. They're kind of just made so that you could do whatever you want with them, whether it's like color blocking, putting patterns on it, putting graphics on it. They're the blank canvas, I think, when it comes to the silhouettes. Yeah,
they're getting harder and harder to find, but I agree.
Nike needs to make better quality ones, and especially since now I share my studio with a shoemaker. We shit on this all the time. It's like we need better quality base shoes so that when we apply anything on top of it, it's gonna last a lot longer. Yeah. What's your favorite shoe?
I'm still trying to figure that out. My personal favorite shoe to wear is Jordan 11, but I would not
Okay.
paint those.
Yeah.
The patent leather frightens me on that.
Yeah.
I've seen people do it, and it looks like it looks cool, but I don't know if I could go that route.
Mhm.
I wear a lot of Jordan 1s, so probably that. But most of the ones that I've done right now have kind of been like a little bit all over the board. There hasn't
Mhm.
been a specific one that's dominant to say, but
Yeah.
I'd probably say probably like a Jordan 1 or something. Um,
Cool.
I just feel like there's a little bit more canvas space for me to work on
I
than
agree.
a smaller shoe. So
Yeah. So hard to find them. Like when you need a certain shoe. You're
yeah,
not getting it off of StockX. It's just nearly impossible to get the triple whites.
yes, yeah, I know. I know. Definitely.
Struggle.
Especially where I am. Especially where I am. You probably have a little bit more opportunities in that space than I do. So, um,
Still. Yeah.
so this is something that I find interesting that you do. I've seen where you've gone through, you've taken all this time, you taped off these swooshes, you've painted them, and then you take acetone to them and wipe them off, and then put new art on it. Like, from an emotional standpoint of being attached to your art, like, talk about that, and then how did you get to the point to where you're just like, forget it, I'm going to do this.
Hmm. I think it's like that part of it almost makes it more valuable, that it's something that is fleeting, something that's not just going to last for a very long time when you put
Mm-hmm.
a design on a small area. But let me backtrack a little bit. So I came up with this idea that as I was starting to do Instagram, I started to realize that consistency was a very important thing, being able to create content consistently week over week. And then I realized, oh crap, I'm a starving artist that can't afford to buy 50 pairs of Air Force One, right? So I needed, a way to express the art that I wanted to create without breaking the bank. So that was kind of the start of it. And I came up with this crazy idea, and I was like, what if I erased it? And everybody that I tried to pitch the idea to kind of just went like, but why would you? That's such a waste of time. Like, how much could you sell every single pair of shoes for? But instead, you're erasing it to put something else on it. And at that time, I was like, yeah, I mean, this gives me the liberty to not only create what I want, right? And I didn't have to worry about sales, but I could also create content. And then I could also show people that it's not that scary to customize shoes. I really wanted to lower the barrier of entry for people so that they know if you make a mistake, all you do is take acetone to it, you erase it, you can start all over again, right? And also for people who want to change up the color or the accent color of their shoes to what they're feeling, maybe their mood, maybe their outfit. Super easy to do that. You just erase it, put something else on. And I'm nearing 50 weeks of doing that now. So it's definitely helped me a lot. It's helped me with detail work. It's helped me with, how I use my brush. And it's pretty much just practicing and going through 50 weeks of it and creating content on top of it, taking pictures every single week, creating videos. All of that was like me learning as well as me producing content and me growing. Yeah.
So, speaking of pictures, like, you have some of the dopest pictures that I've seen
Thank you.
from how you display your work. Like, the one when you have your hands up and the shoes and the candy are floating over you. I was just like, how many hours did that take to set everything up, try to get all your lighting and stuff just right, then take the picture, then editing? Like, I was just like, Jesus, I don't feel like I have the time in the day to do that, but you have some really dope pictures. I'll just say that.
Thank you so much. And that's the thing, when you're asking me about style, the thing with me is I get bored of doing things over and over again. So every single week, whether it's doing a swoosh Sunday or whether it's doing a finished pair of sneakers that I've done, I always try to try something new, a new photography technique, or one day, we might not have lighting right. And lighting is it's a whole career on its own, you know? So if you don't have it right, then the next time you try something else. So every single time I've taken a photo, it's been experimentation. It's been me learning a new technique, trying a new thing. And that's how I got up to that point where it's like, all of a sudden I have this idea that's accumulation of everything that I've done before.
Yeah. Awesome. I like the pictures. This question is probably going to be hard for you because you said you've been doing this for 9 years. Give me your top 5 customs that you've ever done.
Oh, geez. First one's got to be my ice creams. My ice creams kind of put me on the map because they were the first 4 colorway collection that I released with a shoelace company. So that's got a soft spot for me. I also like my Sour Patch Kids. That was one of the ones where I just did it. One of the first shoes where I did it without having a commission lined up for it because I really liked the color and the branding of Sour Patch Kid, and I was like, this would be dope to put on a pair of Air Force Ones. And then, what else do I like? So many. It's so hard. I definitely liked a lot of my anime series that I did on Swoosh Sundays. I did a whole bunch of there was Dragon Ball Z, there was Attack on Titans. I erased all of that. So none of that exists anymore except in the form of pictures. And I kind of wish that I kept some of those, not gonna lie. And then probably I also did a Swoosh Sunday collab shoe with a bunch of my favorite artists. So there was O'Worthen, there was Kickstar, and then also Skins. So that was given away to one of our followers, which was really cool. Is that 5 or is that 4?
That's 4.
4. And then there's another shoe that I'm working on that I can't really reveal yet. But I don't know if that counts. I can't really tell you too much about it. But it's going to be another collection. It's probably one of my favorites. So.
We'll let it slide. We'll let it slide.
It's like when you're an artist and you're always trying to outdo yourself, every shoe that you're currently working on is going to be your favorite shoe. And then, the cycle just repeats itself.
Yeah, definitely. So what would you say is now and what's next for you? And then how could people find you?
Okay. So many things. I just moved into a new studio. My studio mate, like I said before, is Studio Descus, and she's a shoemaker. So we have so many plans, so many big drops coming up. That's going to be exciting to look for. And I'm most often on Instagram. So you can find me at Cestlavic. That's Cestlavic at Cestlavic on Instagram. And I'm just excited to be in my studio to get new stuff pumped out and maybe a new collection dropping in the fall.
Nice. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So why the name? Why Cestlavic?
It's actually, this was my email from high school. So high school Vicky decided one day that Cestlavic was a good pun on the phrase C'est la vie, which is just, life is what it is. It throws you curveballs. It gives you a lot of surprises, but it's also what you make of it. So it's just a play on words for that. And it's kind of like saying it's just me. And me doing sneakers is like everything that I've loved, everything that I'm good at, all in one place. And I'm doing something that truly makes me happy. So that's where the name came from.
Awesome. So wrapping up, I got 2 more questions for you. I'm calling this the Lace Em Up podcast because for me as a customizer, I feel like the laces are the first and last thing that you touch as a customizer, right? Like it's like a final little touch.
Love that.
So 2 questions. One, who do you think should be on the podcast next, and would you be willing to help get them on?
Yeah. Have you had Color Me Fresh on? I feel like he's everywhere.
No,
now.
I've been in conversation with him. I'm trying.
Okay. He's like warming up to it all. Like I'm sure, like we used to talk a lot about how we both have stage fright and we don't like to be in front of the camera. We don't like to talk in front of people because it's just not a thing that we're comfortable with. But I totally see him kind of having just new skin and he's enjoying it too. So I'm sure we can get him on.
Cool. Fingers crossed. The second question, for anybody who is looking at starting customs, maybe new in it, give us like one tip for them to take away and use.
The most common advice that you'll hear from people is just do it, right? I mean, but I think for me, for somebody who's just starting, who might not have all of the resources to dump in it, because being an artist full time actually requires a lot more financial aid than a lot of people think. I would say go for something that you already have. So if you have a pair of sneakers that maybe are old, or maybe you don't wear anymore, try it on that first. Or if you can't afford to buy brand new Air Force Ones all the time, go and get a secondhand one and just go to town. The first time that you try something, it might not look really pretty, it might not be the perfect masterpiece that you're hoping for in your mind, but everybody starts somewhere, and the more you do it, the more you improve.
Yeah, true. Yeah, when I got back into it, I was like, I'm going to go grab a pair from Walmart and just test it out on these and see how it works. Nobody will ever see those, but it was a great practicing platform for me. So
yeah, that's where I started too. It was Walmart canvas shoes and Sharpies.
See, there you go. Awesome.
Yeah.
So that's another episode of the Lace 'em Up podcast. And thank you again for being on.
Thank you, David. It was a blast. We'll talk soon.
There you have it, folks. There's another episode of the Lace 'em Up podcast. Remember, tune back in 2 weeks where we're going to drop another one with another one of your favorite customizers. I'm so excited for you to be here. If you have not yet subscribed, do so. Follow the channel. Follow the guests. All of her information will be in the description box below. She says she lives on Instagram, so you'll be able to find her there. If you have any questions, leave them in the description box below as well. Until next time, we out of here.
Listen, it takes wisdom to grab these sneakers and spin them. Cut a couple of linen and match them up with the denim called Davidedo. He'll cook it up like a kilo and have your Air Ones appropriate with the stilo. He's no Lilo, but he's mean with the stitch.